Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar on getting ready to reopen for visitor attractions. I'm Patricia Kingston from Tourism NI and I'll be facilitating today's session. This webinar is being delivered as part of Tourism NI's ongoing Tourism Enterprise Development Programme, and during this current series we're taking a look at what businesses need to consider when they're getting ready to welcome visitors back once the restrictions begin to ease. Today, we're going to be hearing from Sharon Scott from Place Solutions, who'll be providing insights on the NI domestic market. Then we'll be joined by Victoria Williams from Victoria Williams Consulting, who's going to be taking a strategic look at what the visitor attraction sector should be thinking about right now. Finally, we'll be hearing from my colleague, Samantha Corr, Manager of the Tourism NI Quality and Standards team, who will be giving us an update from the Q&S team and sharing some useful tips on getting ready to reopen. This year's TED programme has been designed to continue to help the tourism industry here survive and recover as we start to move forward from the events of the past year. We're continually reviewing and evolving the programme based on industry needs, so please do keep letting us know what else you'd like to see featured in the TED programme in future. I'll explain a bit more about how you can get in touch later on. I'll be having a short Q&A session with our speakers following the main presentations, so if you have any questions at all for our experts today, please be sure to pop those into the question box, which you'll find in your control panel, and you can do that at any time during the session, and I'll pick up as many of these as possible at the end. So now, without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Sharon Scott.
In this short session, we're going to look at the domestic market, which will be key to recovery in 2021. So what do we mean by the domestic market exactly? This is all residents over the age of 18 with a propensity to travel anywhere in the world, really, but this year in particular, they're more likely to staycation, to stay in Northern Ireland, and that is really what we're looking at today. What we're going to do in the short time that we've got, we will cover a review of the assets and support that are available to you when you're putting together your marketing plans as we move towards reopening. We'll have a quick review of the domestic market segments, and then we'll talk in a little detail about the domestic marketing plan for 2021, your key to recovery. So what assets and support are available? There's a wide range of support from the domestic strategy document itself. There's a host of webinars that were rolled out over the course of 2020. We have some really interesting market segment videos which really capture in essence of the different segments. And this is really interesting to help you quickly understand what each segment's about. There's an action plan template which you can download from Tourism Northern Ireland and fill in at your leisure. Very important to keep a close eye on, and there's another wave of this due out very shortly, is the consumer sentiment survey. That's when we analyse the mood of the traveller, their propensity to travel and what needs and motivations they have around that. There's market insights programs that are very important to keep an eye on the trends that are heading our way in 2021. The industry easing will be more and more important to help you keep up to date with the marketing campaigns, the trends as we move forward in 2021. So make sure you're registered on this all-important industry easing. There's the Experience Development Programme from Tourism Northern Ireland, and as well as that, the local councils are offering a lot of business and marketing support. So you will see a lot of information on this, and we will give this to you after the webinar today. We'll send you out some links to these important assets and support to help you. So some of the trends at a glance that are heading our way. This is from the Business Insights Programme for 2021. It's a very detailed report, but very useful from a marketing point of view, really capturing the trends at a glance. And here's some of them that we're seeing with no signs of abating in 2021. We've all seen the move towards health and well-being, driven by the vaccines, but actually driven by the move towards local food, towards being outdoors, to walking and activity. So that will be top of the agenda for years to come. A huge growing trend globally, and something that will impact us in Northern Ireland and which we can really benefit from, is the whole idea of conscious travel. Regenerative tourism is another term for that. This has boosted the customer awareness for sustainability, but taking that more than that to what does tourism mean? what does it mean to our communities? How can we protect the environment and the assets that have made our tourism what it is today? Digital transformation obviously will be key, and we've seen everyone move towards online for booking, for buying, for searching for their travels and their trips. So that's some of the things to be aware of, and read through the consumer insights reports that are available. We look at the quick look through the priority segments. I would really encourage you to look at these in more detail through the assets and supports that are available. It is a really detailed piece of work. But the segments are, in essence, there are 6 involved in the Northern Ireland domestic market segmentation strategy. And we'll look at, in particular today, given our times, at the priority segments for growth. So aspiring families is about 30% of the market, and with 15% are actually each, the social Instagrammers, the younger element, and the natural quality seekers, the other slightly older element, are key. And those are the ones to really prioritize and focus your marketing efforts on. So what are these segments? Aspiring families. It is what you would expect, very strong family focus. They're very into their activities, which are important, a variety of interests catered for all the family, from mum to young kids. These people, in terms of their demographics, are most likely to be between the age of 35, 44. They'll have young children under the age of 16. So that's an important element at 30% of the market this summer in particularly. If we look at consumer sentiment, they're looking to come, particularly July into August when travel opens again. So they do quite a lot of research. They're into the seeking value. They're not prepared to pay for quality if they think it's worth it. The next one that we come to are natural quality seekers. This segment, slightly older age group, the average age would be about 55 years of age. It's more likely to be the male booking here, and they're likely to have older kids, but probably travel on their own. They're also more likely to travel out of season, which is good when we're looking at marketing and extending the season this year. They're nature lovers. They enjoy being outdoors. The whole issue of sustainability is very, very important to them. They like to plan. They're probably likely to use the digital platforms online. They prefer slightly more gentle activities. The final one we look at is the social Instagrammers. These guys are younger in age group. Actually, they're 18 to 24, 29%, 26% below the age of 34. So certainly that younger catchment. They like the buzz, the atmosphere, the nightlife, and the pubs when they open. They actually want to broaden their mind as well, and this is a slightly shift, that they're not just party, they want to look at the activities, really have something to do as they're in the location. So that's going to be an important element of growth. So what key elements do you need to look at in your marketing plan for 2021? So when you're looking at your marketing plan for 2021, the strategy for growth guides you with 4 key pillars or key themes from which to focus your marketing efforts for 2021. And we'll look at those in some detail over the next few slides. Effective communications. This is really about delivering communications that resonate with and influence the domestic audience to take that holiday, to make that booking or that short break in Northern Ireland over and above other places which they could choose to go. So you've really got to think here about what segment does your current marketing experience appeal to most. Is it the aspiring families? Is it those younger social Instagrammers? Think about their passion points, their motivations, their needs, all the details, and you really have to effective communications to drive this message forward. So the digital and above the lines, where do they hang out? Where can you find these people? We talked about social Instagrammers, they're in social media. Maybe the natural quality seekers will look to websites and more stationary digital platforms. Think about where you'll find them and actually effectively target those particular channels. And we've mentioned digital importance is growing in importance for all the segments, so it's very important that this is clear in your messaging. Think about those important messages that the consumer sentiment surveys are really driving home at the minute. The whole issue around safety, feeling safe, your COVID safety policies, your good to go standards. The real message and key is escapism, getting away from it all. That's what people want in a break to Northern Ireland. They do want exclusive packages, immersive experiences, but very much important is the idea of flexible communication. So how through your communications policy can you drive those key messages home? And who can you partner with when you're looking at effective communications? You'll have that within your own business. How do you work with your local council? How do you work with Tourism Northern Ireland to really make sure that the consumer is aware and your communications channels are effective? The whole issue, all of you will be aware of the need to drive compelling experiences, attractions and events, and 2021 will be so important in this regard. We will be guided by the guidelines and the restrictions, but this is important to really find, build and improve new and existing tourism experiences. How do we do that? We will look at your target markets again. What additional elements, additional product and experience elements do you need to win that priority segment? How can you enhance your existing offer? Is it a day trip you're offering? How can you extend that to maybe include an overnight with another accommodation provider? What added value can you bring to your experience, whether it be provision of food and drink, additional activities, offers for different members of the family? How can you drive and make that more compelling and more likely to book the experience? How can you move your experience into the local nighttime offer? How can you collaborate with the entertainment venues? All those elements to really make a compelling experience. And most effectively, the costing and the pricing structures makes it commercially viable and appealing to your target market itself. Citizen and community engagement will be key to this year. How do you build your local engagement around your business? How are they aware of it? We all know in Northern Ireland the value of word of mouth in marketing and in domestic travel. That is important. How do we drive a sense of pride in our tourism offer? How can we use our local residents to be advocates for Northern Ireland as a tourism destination? It's important that we help this with maybe organising fam trips for the local community to come in and see what it is you actually do in your business, and how could we leverage that and get and employ local people? How can we look at our training and our support facilities to really make that community engagement key part of our marketing effort? Very much important this year, and something I know many of you are already working very hard on, is the idea of industry collaboration, working together to drive the experiences and the packages for 2021. Who do you collaborate with in your local business community to improve your experience and your offer? How do you work with the local council, Tourism Northern Ireland, in driving that communications and marketing message? That will be crucial this year more than ever to driving the domestic tourism offer. So finally, your recovery marketing plan itself, we've gone through how you can structure and develop that. It's really all about inspiring people to staycation at home, to embrace Northern Ireland's giant spirit. Looking at all those, you'll need to be aware of the brand. I know that we've done lots of webinars and there's lots of support available to really understand how you can awaken the giant spirit within your own business and your experience to the visitors. We'll be looking at the rolling out in the weeks and months ahead of a Tourism Northern Ireland campaign, a recovery marketing campaign to really help you target those domestic travellers. The councils will be running series of local campaigns, so as a business be aware of what's happening, when it's happening, when it's safe to do so, and really look at hooking your individual marketing efforts with what's happening at the council and Tourism NI level. That will be key, that everybody collaborates and works together. Really be aware of consumer research. That is so crucial this year more than ever. It will really inform your marketing tactics. This is all about acting quickly. The market is going to open up. When it does, we anticipate that will happen very quickly. We all know with that latent demand for travel, so it is about planning now for the months ahead, and that is so important that we actually start that now with your business colleagues, with your existing staff, and with the wider agencies that are already working very hard on this marketing element. It's all about the epic fun without the epic track. Some of the visuals that we've been showing through the presentation look at the round in the autumn. It's not about how far, it's about how fun. That's your aspiring families to the forefront of that particular image. It's about the warmth of welcome, the ability to get away from it all, very front and foremost in the last consumer sentiment. They want escapism, they want the world-class food and drink showcased to them, the beauty of the landscape and those important immersive experiences targeted to their particular needs. There will be an increased focus on the good to go standard to drive those feelings of safety, that all important consumer confidence. The We're Good to Go logo is now supported by a global quality mark under Safe Travels, giving it an added value to you. So make sure that's absolutely prominent in all your marketing collateral across your digital platforms. The consumer sentiment research is showing that 2 out of 3 people will actually choose a location that's demonstrating we're good to go, as opposed to maybe somewhere that's not. So it's important that we show our accreditation, show that we are ready and we are safe to reopen. This is all about getting the best projects for immediate bookings. The bookings, the planning we know is happening now. The bookings will come, and hopefully by working together on our marketing planning, we will have a very, very good season and recovery. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. What a really useful overview. And don't forget, we're going to be speaking with Sharon again a little bit later on. So if you have any questions for her, just do pop those into the question box in your control panel. It's now my pleasure to welcome Victoria Williams from Victoria Williams Consulting, who's going to share some of her wisdom with us all this afternoon. Good afternoon, Victoria. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, Sharon, and hello, Patricia, and hello, everybody. Lovely to be here. Thanks very much indeed for inviting me. I'm Victoria Williams. I run my company here in Northern Ireland, based in Donaghadee, Victoria Williams Consulting. And the reason that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to visitor attractions is that I myself have run visitor attractions, F&B, hospitality, retail, leisure, all over the world, actually. So my most recent visitor attractions that I've run are over in Dubai, in London, and also in Manchester. So that's where I'm from as well. You probably detect the northern lilt. So anyway, great to be here. Thanks very much indeed for inviting me. Okay, so just to let you know what I'm going to be talking about today, hopefully you'll get some insights. We've obviously seen where the visitor attractions, where the customer sentiment survey has gone and what Sharon's just taken us through. I'm going to be talking about visitor attractions within, what the opportunities are. And one of the things that I really concentrated on when I last spoke to you, which was this time last year when we were looking at the COVID guidelines, was about the being human element, and that's something that really has resonated with me. So we're going to be talking about that. Another thing is going into your business and doing a really deep dive in your operation and what product you're actually providing in the light of what's happened, and obviously in the light of the consumer sentiment survey. And it's all about capturing opportunities. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. You've probably all seen that John McGrillen was in the Irish Times just recently, and yes, it's not a very pretty picture, but it's a great challenge, and we've got some big opportunities ahead. So it is a very, very challenging time, and we recognise that obviously visitor attractions and the whole of the F&B, leisure, hospitality industry has basically been shut. So we've got a decimated sector, but there are some chinks of light ahead, and hopefully a prospect for full recovery within 3 to 4 years, and hopefully much sooner. There will be reduced discretionary spending, we know, and people are now looking for more value, for better choice, and of course increased flexibility. And we all know that the competition from the Republic will be fierce, but what we need to do is look for those opportunities. I would say, if you could, if you have got any questions you'd like to raise, then I'd like you to put those in the chat, please, and what we will do, we will look at those in future. Apologies, because my window cleaner has just arrived, so my dog might go mad. Please excuse me. So those things that have actually getting to get going, I'm going to start with a quote. I really saw this and it resonated with me. The founder and the CEO of the Union Square Hospitality Group, Danny Mayer, has just said last week, I think, never again in our careers will we be able to take the boat out of the water and put it in dry dock for a year to inspect every inch of its underbelly and make it seaworthy again. I thought that was quite a good quote, seeing as where we come from, the Titanic. We want to make sure that when we do put the boat back into the water, we make it it's sounder and does business in a better way. I'm sure you've all looked at that and you're all thinking of that as well, but I wanted to make that a theme of this presentation because it's very, very important that, that we do have a look at everything. I mentioned about humanising. As I said, when I was talking this time last year, we were very much talking about the human aspect of everything. It's a really challenging time for everybody. Your staff, your customers, your business, and obviously you. And what I'm saying is every aspect of what's going to change, what has changed, and how you approach this is going to have to involve the people. So if you would, look at that first about how that actually affects the people. And obviously that also affects you and you as the leader in the business. And, it's important that you look after yourself and you bring your team with you and make sure that you ask for their advice and their help and their collaboration to make sure that they all approach this in a positive way and we capture all the opportunities. So I'm not naive enough to think that you haven't been thinking about this already. So, what I'd like you to do though is look about why you are changing when you're putting the boat back into the water. There's a huge amount of health and safety considerations that we must look at, and I appreciate that a lot of those things are going to be alien. A lot of the operational standard operating procedures are going to be changed because of in the light of the guidelines. In the light of what we are doing and how we approach things, it's really important that those standard operating procedures affect your staff, and they also affect your visitors. And that's why it's important to think about why you're doing it and what the end result's going to be. Staffing levels, now that's a good one, because clearly we might need to put more staff on in order to comply with the guidelines, but we do still want to be a commercially viable business and we need to be sustainable. And also we need to be looking after our staff as well. We might be asking them to do new things, we might be training them to take advantage of new opportunities, and obviously some of the products that we might be now serving we may not have done before. So it's really important that you think about why you're doing it, make sure that it's a really key strategy. Those visitor interactions, now obviously the touch points are going to change radically because we don't want touch points. We don't want obviously physical touching anymore. So it's really important that there should be some idea of why you're doing it, what you're trying to achieve by the end of it. And Sharon mentioned, and we're always going to be mentioning, the Good to Go and the Safe Travel scheme. It's really, really important that you build all your standard operating procedures around actually delivering that. And that is something that people will be looking for in order to make them confident to come to you. So every aspect, as I say, is around people, but think about why you're doing it and make sure that you've got that strategy before you start. Another quote, I'm sorry, I do like my quotes, skate to where the puck is going, which is obviously an ice hockey reference there. And that's really important to read all the consumer sentiment surveys, read all the information so you know where you're going, and therefore you're going to basically make your business capture where we are going. So it's very important that you think about that as a mantra, if you like, to make sure that you're actually having every meeting is putting the strategy in place for where we will be. So yeah, the impact on behaviours, there's been lots of things that have changed. Obviously, people are now reappraising what they want from their free time. People are now more digi savvy or tech savvy, however you want to do it. I think we've all had the the experience of grandma and great grandma and how to operate Zoom. People are a lot more comfortable with that if you can obviously get my mother-in-law to actually get the video away from her face. I'm better with seeing up her nose. But people have got a lot more confident when it comes to digital and technology. And as Sharon mentioned just earlier, people are booking a lot more readily through the digital medium, and therefore we need to be very, very aware of how that presents us with opportunity. One of the things that has happened as a result of the pandemic is that leisure and entertainment has become a basic need. It isn't just something that you do in your free time. It's a basic human need, the need to sort of interact, the need to get out, and so that has now sort of raised itself as being more important in what we do and how we behave as we go forward in life. And people are valuing getting out more. Yeah, I think we're all valuing our freedom. The four walls are obviously letting us a bit tired, and I think we all want to be out and about. People are more experience focused. I think they've become a little bit less tangible in things that they're looking at memories. If you look at all the photographs that have come out, and the difference in the photographs that have come out in the last in year 2020 to what happened in 2019, and it was all about travel, it's all about experiences, and that's why we want to get back to there, and I think people are valuing that more, and that's where attractions can come in and actually create those memories and get those photographs and people to share how wonderful, what a time that they're having. We are now more friends and family focused, I think. One of the things that you probably see is that there's going to be an awful lot more multi-generational travel, groups of families coming out, and so we need to be aware of that. And obviously love and friends and family are really, really important. And so again, if you've got an attraction that you can attract multi-generations and you can actually have something for grandma to do as well as the kiddies, then it's important that you think about what your product is delivering. People are actually now more valuing what's on their doorstep, so that community is really, really important. And it's so again, that collaboration with local regional attractions and other tourism operators and other tourism other tourism brands, you can obviously get into and make a sort of collaborative regional attraction, if you like, to actually make sure that people stay within your region, and obviously they come to you as a destination, they choose you over someone else. So again, people are becoming more discerning. They do want to be safe, obviously, but they want more information. They need things to be more transparent. They want the comfort around them of knowing that they're safe, and they want to be looked after. And obviously people are prepared to pay for that. So you need to look at what the opportunities are in all of that for your attraction, and then capture them and really capitalize on what you can do. Bit of a debate. Are people kinder? Are people more forgiving? Are people more discerning? Do they want more now? Yeah, is there a desire for more value add? People want more personal experiences and they're prepared to pay for it. Do they want more premium products? Yeah, I think they are, and they're prepared to pay for it. And more personal service. Again, probably born out of the want for safety, but also born out of the fact that there is that pent-up demand, and they're prepared to actually pay for something, and they really want to have a great time and create a fantastic memory. So now looking at the underbelly of the boat. What exactly are you doing in your product, and have you got to change it now in light of what we've been talking about? Why do you do what you do? What is the purpose of your attraction? Why do people come to your attraction? Why do they come to your attraction over the competition? What is your USP? Does your price offer the right value now? If it did, then does it need to change? What are the barriers to entry? Okay, are there people there that have a fear of going out, this FOGO? If there is this FOGO that you've heard about, then we need to be really transforming it into the joy, and we need to be breaking down that fear. If that's a barrier, then it's really, really important that you think about how you can break that down. Is your brand and your branding still relevant? Have a really sincere look at it and go, Is it compliant with what we need to be now? Am I skating to where the puck is going? Am I still relevant? Do I need to change anything fundamental? If you did pivot, if you did manage to keep going in some form, what are you still going to keep? Because some of those things will be great. Some of those things will really have made an impact and created a huge third dimension to your brand. Maybe you've done something on video that you'd like to, maybe you're selling merchandise, maybe online. Those are the things that you can potentially keep and keep going forward as we capture all these opportunities. Is the digital offering still relevant? Yeah. So are you actually a little bit behind the times in what you're doing? So again, what needs to change? That needs to be really looked at, and you and your team can inspect every element of your product and make sure that what you are going to be changing is going to capture that opportunity. Your market and your marketing, again, that needs to change because the market has changed. Clearly this year we're not going to be going out to the international visitor. Clearly, there will be very, very few people coming from anywhere apart from GB and the UK. Potentially we could have Europe, but again, we need to be looking very, very close to home when it comes to your market and how you're actually communicating with your market. Those people have got different expectations, as I said, about the digital side of things and what they're actually going to experience and how they want to make a memory and how safe they feel. So consider how important loyalty is and repeat visits, and consider how important community is now. There needs to be a balance, clearly. I know there's a debate to be had whether or not we should be doing annual passes anymore. I know that Disney and Florida are talking about whether or not that's actually now still relevant, because obviously the community is where people are going to be coming from. And we need to be sort of seeing where the best targeting of those sort of products would be. So again, think about that. Think about your marketing, and is it now relevant to your new market? And is the traditional stuff, is that by the by, or is there still a place for that traditional marketing? Is it all social media now? Look at those three key areas of where we're looking for the families, looking for the aspiring nature, looking for the social Instagrammers. Those markets are very, really key. Are you communicating in the right way? One of the things that just talking about loyalty, that actually Michelle on a digital TED webinar recently talked about was that subscription model. Now, I don't know if you know, but there's been a lot of subscription things happening in hotels. I think you could buy a hotel room for a year for £30,000 if you wanted to be in the Maldives, because clearly, it doesn't really matter if people are working from home where they work for. They'd rather be in the Maldives than potentially in New York. It's sat in their apartment. But think about how you could capture that. Michelle mentioned, I think, something like 30% of millennials have actually got at least one subscription product. Can your attraction become a subscription product? Could it become, 3 or more, visits for a particular price that people pay for monthly? How do you hook those people in? How do you get them value add for, the fact that they live locally to you? And how do you really, capture that loyalty that would bring? So there's a number of things there. And how you can then capture, the booking journey, the dreaming. Yeah, first of all, the planning, and obviously making sure that you're communicating right, you're booking, the booking experience, and then the actual experience. How do you capture all of that in light of what's changed with the digital and the bookings and the way people are thinking? And the experience itself. You obviously operationally, your standard operating procedures will have had to change. But again, are they fit for purpose now? Have you got to build in new standard operating procedures and new ways of training your team? The standards, for instance, your standards may have been certain group sizes if you pulse a group through the attraction. If you think about how you having to change your timings, your capacities in order to comply with COVID regulations, does that mean that your opening hours need to improve? your opening hours need to stretch in order to accommodate the same numbers? Is your pricing right? In order to obviously keep that going into your flowing into your bottom line. Your customer metrics, again, how are you measuring satisfaction? You know, it might not be relevant still. You know, you might need to be measuring something else. How safe people feeling? You know, do they really need to sort of, you know, what else do they need from your attraction? Is everything, you know, has everything been communicated properly to them? Do they feel as though they knew what they were doing when they came to your attraction? Your customer metrics do need to be asking for feedback. You need to be making sure that you're actually reacting to what people are saying once we're open again. And as I mentioned, there may well be changes that you actually think you will keep and pivot, because you know everything's evolving at the moment and you need to be capturing all those opportunities. If you didn't do time ticketing before and you were forced to last summer, is that something that you want to keep? I would suggest that it probably is, because it gives everybody the safety and the security of knowing how many people are in your attraction, indoor and outdoor, at the same time. You know, and again, you know, think about the other changes that you've kept. You know, maybe online marketing, maybe online purchasing, you know, those things that will add value to your product as we go forward. Again, skating to where that puck is going, your business model, you know, you've survived so far, you want it to be a sustainable business going forward. And that way you need to be looking at, because of that, you need to be looking at your KPIs, your key performance indicators, making sure that your numbers and your percentages for what you're planning are going to make the business still work. Is it still fit for purpose? Is your business model going to work with your new strategy, with your new product, with your new way of doing things, with your new operational procedures? You know, are your costs increased? You know, if they have done, then how have you managed to obviously sustain the business, you know, sustain the profitability going forward? And then you need to plan and you need to budget. So budget and forecast, and then budget and forecast, and then review and budget and forecast. Everything needs to be obviously set, ready for the strategy as you've decided it. And again, another analogy, a little bit of carpentry analogy. Before you change, measure twice, cut once. There's a lot of change happening. Some of the changes are irreversible, but before you change things, do look at things in a very, very detailed way. Don't procrastinate, clearly, because we haven't got much time, but you do need to make sure that you measure twice and you cut once. And by doing that, you know, if you collaborate with your team, if you explain to your team what you're going to do, and then obviously do it, involve everybody in those big decisions, because it will make a massive difference. I rather like that analogy. It's a smart, brief one, so I've stolen it from there, but I'll give them credit. So, are you ready for that change? You know, what are you wanting to achieve? I've mentioned about collaboration. I mentioned about sharing the load, discussing and planning it, and getting a sustainable profitability going forward. Make those goals very, very clear before you start to change anything. What goals do you have? You obviously want more revenue from the customer. You know, do we want to increase the average spend? You know, how are you going to do that in the light now where things might be on a different sort of business model operation? The ease of transaction. How easy is it for people to actually come to you, to get to you, to actually transact with you? You know, I mentioned before about the local market. Market now is going to be that more local, and therefore you want people to come more often. So it needs to be really easy for them to actually spend money with you and want to spend money with you and have a reason to come back. And it needs to be easy. You know, do you want more visitors, you know, or do you want less? You know, you might not want more, you might want less, but you might want them to be spending a little bit more when they're there. So again, build your strategy around what you actually want to achieve. And obviously safety and security is absolutely key, and always measure that ROI, always measure that return. If you're spending money, you need to be making money. You need to know what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be spending that money, and make sure that you evaluate afterwards. Really, really important. In summary, look after the people, and that means you as well. It means that you have to keep a clear head. You as the leader needs to be leading from the front. You need to be looking at yourself and making sure you're looking after yourself. People, we're a lot more focused around health and well-being for our team now, and again, engagement and staff engagement is very, very important. And obviously you need to be thinking about the customer, but it's all about people. Everything that we do has to have people in mind. We need to be changing and embracing that change. There's a huge amount of change, and you know, but there's loads of opportunities there. So there's loads of changed behaviours that we can capture. There's loads of changed wants and needs that people are now sort of seeing how important it is at their leisure time. So your attraction can really capture that need and obviously make the most of it for your business. Do have a look at the business before you change anything. Obviously, measure twice and cut once, but do make sure that you look at every aspect of your business, as I mentioned, your product, your experience, your marketing. Working collaboratively with your team. Sharon mentioned before about the regional collaborations, and that is very, very important, especially in the light of the local markets, and obviously really bolstering that that experience and making sure people stay within the region and they come here and they stay for a long time and they spend their money with us. As I said, plan the relaunch and share the load and skate to where the puck is going. And just finally, yeah, skate to where the puck is going and measure twice, cut once. And we want to make sure that when we put the boat back into the water, it's sounder and it does business in a better way. We've got masses of opportunity and let's just grasp it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I love that measure twice, cut once. I love a bit of DIY, and there's been times where I wish I had that advice. It's been measure once, cut once, and then go and get another bit because you cut it wrong. Thank you so much. Again, just a reminder, if you've a question for any of our speakers at all today, please pop them into the questions panel and I'll pick up as many of those as I can a little bit later. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Samantha Corr from our Quality and Standards team at Tourism NI. And Sam's going to give us a quick update on certification and quality assurance. And we'll also be sharing some of her top tips for reopening. So hi, Sam. Thanks so much. Great to have you with us today. Over to you. Hi, I'll hand over to you. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Patricia, and thanks everyone for coming along today. So my name is Samantha Corr. I manage our quality and standards team here at Tourism Northern Ireland. So we know all about the challenges posed by COVID-19 and the road ahead of us, and we got some great advice from Sharon about markets, and then Victoria just now about reviewing and adapting your processes. There's definitely some signs of light ahead, and I know that some of the businesses, a lot of businesses in Northern Ireland are preparing for a busy summer. There's great work going on here at Tourism NI as well, as we work on our market research and really hone in on our insights as we continue to develop the Embrace a Giant Spirit brand, which many of you will know. We get ready to switch on our marketing campaigns, and then the work that other teams in Tourism NI have been doing to really secure future business for Northern Ireland across a number of markets. So I wanted to update you on some of the work that my team has been doing, what we have learned along the way, and how this affects you. So give me a second to get the slides right. So quite a few of you on the call will be members of Tourism NI's Quality Assurance Scheme for Visitor Experiences. So this is designed to keep the quality of the visitor experience high and to ensure that visitors to Northern Ireland have a high quality experience that they're going to tell their friends about and make them more likely to return and to spend more on their trip as well. So in terms of quality assurance, what we've done is we've been able to add a 1-year extension to all existing memberships free of charge. So it's a considerable financial commitment for Tourism NI, but our priority is to support the tourism sector in its recovery and through the various stages of recovery. And the quality assurance schemes are going to be essential aspects of that. So nothing for members to do for now. You'll hear from us in the usual way when it comes time to assess, but you're more than welcome to contact myself or any of the team if you need dates or want to chat anything through. So my contact details are at the end of the presentation, so you can get them there. So what does 2021 look like from a quality assurance perspective? So we're hopeful that we can return to assessments in the next month. So the priority will be to assess new applicants to the scheme and anyone maybe waiting for a reassessment. The team will then move to other forms of assessment and advisory. So we're also working on a revised scheme, which we're excited about that and hope to bring you updates on that in the coming months. So our role for this next year will be very much to encourage and support you through the next year. What we find is that while you've had to be more lean, flexible, nimble, consumer expectations haven't changed very much. They might appreciate that some elements have to be adapted, but not reduced. So expectations are still high. We're confident that our sector, and particularly members of the assurance scheme, are providing a safe and high quality visitor experience. So we'll be working with you to support and encourage you in that process. The team continued with assessments throughout 2020 when it was possible. And overall, it was a very positive experience. Overall, our industry adapted quickly and very, very well. Most of the time, our role was to be there to give that extra bit of reassurance and advice and let you know that the processes you've put in place are working well, or maybe sharing some different ways of working and best practice. So leading on from that, I really wanted to sum up and share what we have learned over the past year as we get ready to open once again in 2021. So some tips for reopening from a quality advisor. So first up is cleanliness and health measures. Not very surprising. So this has always been of the utmost importance to visitors with very little room for error, and it's even more true now. So if you've premises or equipment, this will apply here, but people will also want to see evidence of this in staff uniform, personal presentation, and the precautions that you and your staff are taking. So I've put a stat here. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, 69% of travellers cite cleanliness and health measures as a critical component of travel brands' crisis response. Most businesses already had well-established procedures and training in place and have taken steps to enhance that. That might include additional cleaning and disinfection, particularly at high-touch areas, altering cleaning schedules, maybe more visible hand sanitization, clear protocols for you and your staff. So it really is essential. Alongside this is the need to really showcase and shout about your standards. I've heard it referred to as cleanliness meets PR, and the two very much go hand in hand here. This stat refers to accommodation, but it shows the mindset of the consumer that 70% of people will book accommodation only if they know what health and hygiene policies are in place. So while good housekeeping essentially was something that was always done discreetly in the background, it's no longer the case. Visitors want to see visible evidence of what you're doing to keep them safe. So many businesses will now have a statement right there on the homepage to say exactly what they're doing. This would be backed up on arrival when meeting your staff, either through notices, at reception, or via the people themselves. If you have a physical building, you might see a more visible presence from the cleaning staff, maybe by altering shifts, for example. So next up, I'm very much tied into the first 2 points, are your safety assurances. So we're good to go on the left. Hopefully most of you will know it. It's the official UK mark to signal that a tourism or hospitality business is working hard to meet government and industry guidelines related to COVID-19. So when restrictions ease, 2/3 of Northern Ireland consumers would be more inclined to visit a business that displayed the we're good to go mark. Uptake has been fantastic. There's over 1,400 businesses in Northern Ireland registered so far, and we do expect that to grow even further over the next couple of months. It's free and very easy to apply, so as long as you've already taken the necessary steps, so you'll be asked to confirm if you have a COVID-19 risk assessment in place, that you have a nominated health and safety representative in post, and quite often that will be yourself, that you've reviewed social distancing measures and similar questions. So spot checks are being carried out, and the feedback from the team doing those has been overwhelmingly positive. We find that businesses have been really proud to show us the steps they've put in place and show us what they're doing. And if something has gone wrong, it's maybe a matter of misunderstanding regulations and guidelines, and that's where we come in. We're here to support. So the graphic here on the right, you may or may not recognize. I know Sharon featured it in her presentation. So this is the Safe Travels stamp, and the team responsible for this have been working with the World Travel and Tourism Council. And it's essentially the international equivalent of we're good to go. So if anybody is targeting international markets, it's something that you can use in your efforts. So for all existing members will have been contacted and told how to get that, but it's a case of logging back into the We're Good to Go portal and following the steps. So next up, I've talked about awareness and education. So all visitor experiences well, most will have opened in some capacity over the past year, and will have health and good health and safety measures in place and good training in place for staff if you do employ staff. Risk assessments will have been carefully prepared, and they should be continually updated as regulations change or as your business adapts. Tourism NI, along with the Department for the Economy, produced a guide called Working Safely During COVID-19 in Tourism and Hospitality Businesses. So it's a very comprehensive guide. It is quite lengthy, but it's a good one to be able to refer back to. So for example, if you want to find out more about your risk assessment, section 1 covers that. An excellent resource, I've put a link in here. I refer back to this again and again. It's a page on the NI Direct website, and it's called What Restrictions Mean for You. If you just pop that into Google, you should find it. So while the regulations are lengthy and comprehensive, and the guide that I've mentioned there, the Working Safely guide, it is lengthy but invaluable. This NI Direct guide, it's a short summary of what the current restrictions are and in plain English. So while a lot of us on the webinar will have to be close to all the detail of it, this is a really good guide, I think, for staff who just need to know the basics of what's happening and to stay up to date. And then point 5 is helping your visitors. So making it very, very easy for your visitors to follow the procedures that you've put into place. So as quality advisors, our team walks the visitor journey every day, and many of you will know them and what they do. And it's one of the best ways to see what's working and to recognise the gaps. So with regards to COVID-19 guidance, the key is to make it really, really easy to follow your guidance and protocol. So for an example, if you do have a physical building, a good example is hand sanitization. This should be available at the main entrance, at maybe the entrance to the cafe, toilets, lifts, any high touch areas. And you want to make sure that it is right in front of the visitor or in their sight line so that they don't even have to think about it. It's intuitive for them to do. If you've one-way systems in place, walk them through yourself and look for the bottlenecks, or if there are any areas where queues are likely to form. Make sure visitors know what to do, where to stand, what 1 or 2 meters looks like. This could be done with visual cues or some physical indication. So again, just the key is to make it really, really easy and obvious for your visitor to know what to do. And final slide is new ways of working. So first up, clear communication. So obviously that in itself isn't new, but some of the messages that you're having to deliver are. So restrictions are likely to be part of our lives for quite some time, and we're going to have to adjust our behavior on what we tell our customer. So this might be done, and Victoria mentioned this in the previous slides. So this might be done from managing, setting and managing expectations right from the outset. So on the website, when booking, in booking confirmation emails, and again, reinforced at arrival. For example, if visitors are required to wear masks, which is likely, or maintain social distancing between different parties, be very clear about that and the rationale for doing so. So our business, tourism and hospitality, it is about people and hospitality, and restrictions can feel unnatural and quite limiting. But we need to be able then to create healthier storylines around these so that we don't lose what makes us special. This sector in particular, you see on the slide, I've mentioned storytelling. So this sector are fantastic storytellers and have really helped to bring the Northern Ireland story and experience to life. We may see less hands-on physical interaction with technology, for example, but storytelling can be a powerful tool to get around that, even more so if the experience does have to be limited. And point 7 is technology. So I remember early on in the first lockdown, our chief digital officer told us something he had read, which was we've had 3 years worth of digital transformation in 3 months. So like Victoria said, we've all become a little bit more tech savvy or digi savvy in our personal lives, and we're going to be more willing to adopt new technology, sorry. Some businesses are already quite advanced in their use of technology with integrated booking systems, apps, QR codes, sophisticated headsets for tours. There's lots of options out there, and innovation is going to be part of our life. It's going to continue. If you're an Invest NI client, you can contact your client executive there to keep it and see if there are any opportunities for digital support. And likewise, keep an eye out with ourselves at Tourism NI and the local council for any opportunities or support that do come up. And finally, my last point is adaptability, which all of the speakers have picked up on. So by now, everyone will have got used to working very, very quickly and very flexibly. First point in that, then Sharon had talked about the domestic market, and we know that the first visitors to return are going to be our domestic visitors, followed by the Republic of Ireland and GB. So there's a chance to really look at our products and think, how do we meet the needs of those markets, and to adapt and encourage them to stay longer in Northern Ireland, to spend more, to see different parts of it. And then flexibility in terms of your bookings as well. And I know that the sector has been fantastic with that, and many of us have had our own challenges in changing or cancelling a holiday. So this is going to continue to be very, very important. So 74% of travellers said they want travel bookings to travel platforms to increase transparency around their cancellation policies, and that's something that needs to be done, and it needs to be really upfront for visitors. So with tip number 8, I'm going to leave you there, and I would just say that we've all learned a lot this year and had an opportunity to learn from each other and build really close relationships. So I hope we'll all be able to continue to do that. And thank you very much for listening, and I'll hand you back to Patricia, and I'll put my details here.
Great, thank you so much, Sam. And once again, so much to think about there. So a reminder to any industry joining us today, as always, we're going to be sharing a recording of today's session with you all, so you can review that again at your leisure. I'll shortly be inviting Sharon, Victoria and Sam back for our Q&A session. So any questions that you haven't yet shared, please enter those into the questions section on the control panel now, and we're going to get through as many of those as we can today. Just before we get stuck into the questions, I'm going to do a couple of very quick polls just so we can get a feel for how you found today's session so far. The first one will pop up on your screen shortly now. It's how would you rate today's session in terms of content and relevance to your business? So that's with 1 being not relevant at all and 5 being extremely relevant, exactly what you were looking for today. Just give you a second there to fill that in. Okay, and secondly, this is just a very simple yes or no question. Do you plan to take any action within your business as a direct result of what you've heard from all 3 of our speakers today? So that's just a simple yes or no. And as usual, we'll also be issuing a short survey via email after the session. So that'll be your opportunity to let us know what else you'd love to see in the TED programme. And we just really appreciate if you could take the opportunity to complete that when you have a moment. We're just constantly developing and evolving the programme. So your feedback is just a very important part of that process. Without your feedback, we don't know if we're on the right track or not. So we really appreciate it. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to welcome back our experts today. We have Sharon Scott, Victoria Williams and Samantha Corr for our Q&A session. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for all your presentations today. Lots to think about. We've got good numbers today, so we should have a few questions trickling in as we go here. There's still time to pop them in the questions there if you haven't already. I'm going to kick off with you first, Sharon, if that's okay. I was hoping that you could give us this all just some insights on the domestic market in the context very specifically of the visitor attraction sector that we're talking to today.
Yeah, sure, Patricia. I think we've seen from the consumer sentiment survey in Northern Ireland just what Victoria has covered in her interesting presentation of that need to really localize everything, to collaborate even more effectively than a lot of us would previously had done. It's going to be a very competitive market. The consumer sentiments are telling us that 51% of visitors, domestic market visitors, are looking for this idea of an exclusive package. they're looking for us to do a bit more of the legwork this time of pulling together. So for attractions, that means getting involved with maybe some tour guides, some other experiences within your local area. And we've had this session now running all week. So we've been speaking to tour guides, we've been speaking to accommodation providers, and we're seeing a real sort of swelling up of the wish to do that. And I think that's going to be very, very important as we move into reopening and this competitive market that we're going to be facing to hook those visitors. What we've also seen is about 47% of the people surveyed in the domestic market, they're open to ideas right now. So it really is all about planning, and both Victoria and Samantha have covered that in relation to the operational side of things. But from a marketing point of view, we really need to get that messaging out effectively, and thinking again of our target markets. Our aspiring families seem to come through the quickest to this. So they're planning now, they're maybe not booking just yet, but they'll be making those important decisions, planning to travel end of July into August on the latest wave of consumer sentiment. So it really is, and it's come through all week and very, very much today, about the building confidence with your visitor and the importance on safety and the operational side of the business. And that's something that we need to communicate with. It's really, and it's interesting to see the shifts in consumer sentiment. The last waves talked about the need to wind down, to relax. Now we're seeing it moved very much to top. Number one motivation to travel is to escape, get away from it all, to get involved in attractions and activities. So we're seeing that shift in the market. We probably all experiencing that individually. So that's something to be aware with, and really, really start to excite the visitor and getting them queued up to come and visit. So that's some of the things that I've been picking up on over the course of the week.
Absolutely, that's so useful. Thank you, Sharon. I'm going to move across to you now, Victoria, if you don't mind. We've had a question about someone in terms of preparing volunteers for returning to attractions in a COVID environment. Is there any advice that you could give on that?
Well, obviously people are concerned, and many of your staff will have not been working for, could be up to a year. So I think what we've got to do is be, as I keep mentioning, very human in our approach. Put yourself in your staff's shoes, break them in very gently. You should start really, hopefully you've been communicating with them over the course of the time that they've been away, and you really need to sort of build up to actually pushing them into working full time again. So maybe there's opportunities of getting together virtually before you do some training, and then the training is really, really key, making sure that you're involving them in knowing why they're doing things maybe a bit differently, asking for their advice a little as well, saying that we've got this problem and that problem, what would you do, seeing as you're the people that obviously deal with the guests and deal with the visitors, have you got any ideas, maybe we could be doing it better. So asking for them to be involved, and then taking them through and getting them confident in the new procedures. And again, as I say, if they know why they're doing it, then they'll have more of a chance, and if we've had an input as well, they'll have more of a chance to actually do it. And also giving them the emotional wherewithal, if you like, making them confident in knowing what might happen. So maybe they'll get challenged by visitors who don't want to be wearing masks. What happens if you get a visitor who is actually exempt from wearing a mask? Do you then put in some sort of protocol for that to make sure that you can go, absolutely no problem at all, let me just speak to the rest of the group, and then if the rest of the group are fine, then that's okay. But you don't want to be starting to create antagonism or generate any bad feeling, and also you don't want to be putting the member of staff into a position that they're not prepared for. So there must be an awful lot of thought that goes in. What could happen? What haven't I thought about? What else do we need to do? What else do we need to do? And then building that program of training to get the guys confident and continue that communication. with them all the way through the process before opening. Get them confident, because we do have to, you know, they are our biggest asset. They're the ones that are going to obviously be the face of your business. They are the most important people in your business, and they will be the people that have the biggest impact on the experience that the visitor has. So you've got to give them that complete training, that complete confidence, and understand and put yourself in their shoes of what they're going to be dealing with. So just break them in gently is what I'm saying.
Absolutely, that sounds great. And actually, you've touched there on one of another question that we've had through someone wondering who does tours of up to 4 people, and they had made masks compulsory, and they had previously, I imagine maybe last summer when things opened for a while, had some negative reaction to that in the past. Is there any advice you can give on that, or
well,
how
that's
to deal?
really interesting, yeah, because I was working with Kate at Marble Arch Caves last summer, and she had the same issues, and we sort of again took the staff away and sort of worked up a standard procedure for that, because people weren't in the summer last year as used to wearing the masks as perhaps they are now. So I think maybe we're in a different space now. However, we still need to, you know, as I say, adapt. If, you know, there will be people who aren't able to wear masks. There will be people with special needs that can't, you know. So how do we, first of all, you know, communicate that prior to booking? How do we make sure that people know what they need to be doing prior to booking, and also what happens when, you know, and then make sure that everybody is aligned in what your standard operation procedure is when that happens. So yes, there may well be groups where, you know, people, you know, you will need to know in advance if people are not going to be able to wear masks, so you can then manage the rest of your group or that group, or you can put them in a particular group, or you can do an individual tour for them, depending on what your operating procedure is and what your attraction offers.
Yeah, it comes down to that thing of communication being so important across everything, whether it's communicating with your visitor, but communicating with your staff, and just making sure that everybody knows what's going on, and then everyone just feels that bit safer then, I guess.
Yeah, confidence is all about.
Absolutely. Sam, I'm going to come to you now. We've had a couple of questions on the same sort of vein here. Basically, if everyone within your team has had both of their vaccination jabs, and they're going to be practicing social distancing, can they return to work at this stage? So we've had a general question about that, and again a question where it's a case where it's volunteers. Where on that occasion, a lot of the volunteers would be from the sort of older age group of maybe 70 plus. So just wonder, Sam, if you could give any advice on that at all.
Yeah, I think what Victoria said was exactly right before. A lot of the time it is about engaging your staff and involving them in the process. And most will be very, very willing if they feel empowered to be part of that decision-making process. So the regulations are at the minute are that if you can work at home, you must work at home. That's not always the case in visitor attractions, hotels, and so forth when they reopen. So the important thing to do then is everybody does have to have a risk assessment in place for their business anyway. There's a really great tool, and Patricia, maybe you can tell me after if I'm able to share a link in the chat with everybody, or if we can get it out afterwards. But the Health and Safety Executive, HSENI, have put together a really great risk assessment template for COVID-19. So they pretty much go through all the different things that you have to consider. So you just need to figure out how they apply to your business. So you do have to have that risk assessment in place. You're also going to have to look at how you maintain social distancing between employees. If you can't maintain social distancing, how do you reduce the risk of transmission? And then looking after as well people who would be clinically extremely vulnerable. And I think they're the main points to cover. So yes, you can go back to work. You just have to make sure all those parameters are in place and addressed.
That's great, Sam. If you have that link to hand, if you pop it into the chat here, we should be able to share that with the whole audience. But if not, we can circulate that to everybody afterwards. I think that will be a really useful link for people there. So that's absolutely super. But if you don't have it to hand, don't worry, we'll definitely find a way to get that out to everybody. What we will be doing is, of course, sharing a recording from today. So we'll maybe include that link as one of the resources on the webinar page as well that we'll send through to everybody afterwards. Sam, we've also had a question through just about the Good to Go application process. How involved or how onerous is that, and how long does it take to process? Do you know the answer to that?
I do, and I put the link in the chat there. You probably heard my computer pinging away as I tried different things. It's very, very straightforward. So I'm not sure if I mentioned the link earlier. It's www.goodtogoni.com, or again, a Google search. There are about 15 questions in total. They're yes/no questions. They'll require some background work, but hopefully everybody will have done this. So it's around, have you got your risk assessment in place? Have you considered social distancing? So very straightforward. Once you're registered, you should get access to the portal straight away, and we'll be able to confirm that and get it up on our site. So very useful tool. It's going to be high in demand, so do try it out. And any questions, the team's on hand to give you a hand.
Perfect.
Patricia,
that's super.
Patricia, I would have just add from a marketing point of view, and it's something that's come up during the week as well, that just to double check, it should be automatically uploaded on the Discover NI website. Double check that it's actually prominent there if you've applied. Also check if you're enrolled in any of the local council destination marketing sites, that it's appearing there. You'll just have to do that little check yourself. It is important. The visitors will be looking for it. And then just to add to what Samantha's already saying, I find that among the local councils, there's great support too through environmental health. If you, particularly with the filling in of the all-important risk assessment, it sounds very daunting. I've taken a number of businesses through it. It really is. It's sensible, and it's your operating procedures set out. But if you do have, you can also either go through Samantha's team. The helpline is also through Tourism NI, or else your local council environmental health officer, if they probably already know your business anyway, can be an extra support to fill in the risk assessment part.
Absolutely, that's a great help, and actually that leads me on nicely. I suppose it's just a reminder to everyone that, you know, back at the beginning of lockdown, this time last year, unbelievably, but we set up a COVID support helpline for the industry, and that is still open. So we would encourage you to get in touch with the team if you have an issue or something that you're struggling with that you'd like some advice on. These guys will be able to point you in the right direction. The details are up on the screen there. So that helpline's open from Monday to Friday, 9 AM to 5 PM. But there's also an online inquiry form. If you head to covid19.tourismni.com and go to contact us, you'll find a little form there where you can fill in your query, and one of the team will get in touch with you to help. Also, as always, you can contact me and the guys in the industry development team at industry.development@tourismni.com, and we'll do our absolute best to help you. And also, perhaps if you know, from what Victoria said today, you feel like you'd really benefit from a one-to-one chat with Victoria, get in touch with us on that email address, and I can link you up with Victoria, and she can maybe give you a call and chat through some little bits and pieces really specific to your individual business. And I've chatted to Victoria beforehand. She's really happy to do that. So all these different resources available to you. Also, if you head to covid19.tourismni.com, there's lots of resources and help, and actually you'll find on there contact details for all of the individual councils as well, if you want to contact your local council about anything. That's where the recording from today will be in the previous webinars tab, along with recordings from all of our TED webinars to date. And if you also head to the upcoming webinars section while you're there, you can see any TED webinars that are coming up, but also webinars from some of our partners that are relevant to yourselves. We try and keep us up to date as we can, share some of those with you as well. Just having a little check there. I don't think we've any other questions through, so I think all that remains for today is just to say a really big thank you. Thank you so much to Sharon, Victoria and Samantha for today. Some really valuable insights, and thanks so much to everyone that's joined us for this afternoon's session, and hope to welcome you along to more of our webinars very soon. Thanks so much, guys, and until next time, see you later.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.